It started out as a Google Doc. Simple answers to basic questions. Question, should I bring a sign? Answer, if you're holding an oppositional sign, staffers will almost certainly not give you or the people with you the chance to get the mic or ask a question. Okay, got it. Here's another. Question, help, my members of Congress are pretty good. Now what? Answer, do not switch to targeting other members of Congress who don't represent you. They don't care what you have to say. Instead, praise your own member of Congress for doing the right thing. It will help ensure that they continue to do the right thing. Don't know what to say when you call your member of Congress? Here, use this script. Don't know what to do when you go to your senator's town hall meeting? Here, use these step-by-step instructions. Get there early, spread out, ask good questions, record everything. This Google Doc is just 24 pages long. It's called the Indivisible Guide. It was written by former congressional staffers, former Democratic congressional staffers, right after the 2016 presidential election. What they were trying to do with this Google map, which became this guide, was essentially come up with a roadmap for Democrats during the Trump presidency, a guide for people who wanted to push back against the president's priorities. These congressional staffers took what they had learned working on Capitol Hill to try to teach people what works, to give people specific, clear, granular tactics they could use to break through and be effective with their member of Congress. All those people showing up at congressional town halls with pre-written questions, that was a suggestion from the Indivisible Guide. All those people going to the home offices of the home district offices of their members of Congress, that's on page 20. Scheduling a meeting with your representative, check the Indivisible Guide. Organizing as a group, check the Indivisible Guide. The reason we have all of these pictures and videos and tweets, that's from the Indivisible Guide too. Take pictures, tag your congressman, record everything. The whole point of this instruction manual, right after the Trump and Republican victory in 2016, was to put power in the hands of Democratic voters at a time when Democrats held no power at all in Washington. The Indivisible Guide, right after the 2016 elections, it caught on. Since it came into existence less than 2 years ago, it launched more than 5,000 Indivisible groups all across the country. And honestly, part of the reason Democrats do have a little power in Washington now, part of the reason they were able to win back the House in this midterm election is because of some of the tactics and instructions that were born out of that tiny little guide. All that organizing and agitating with people with their home representatives, it ended up pushing a bunch of Republican members of Congress to quit. They didn't want to deal with their constituents showing up at their offices like this every Tuesday. Enough Republicans quit that really did help Democrats shift the balance of power in Congress. So now that the playing field looks a little different, now that Democrats do have some power in Washington, now that they are poised to take control of the House, now Indivisible has done 2.0. They've put out new instructions. This is the Indivisible Guide 2.0. It has just been released this hour. It's brand new. Just like the first Indivisible Guide, this one is super granular and specific. A lot of the tactics are the same. Visit district offices for your representative. Go to town halls with your representative and your senator. Spread the word on social media. Tag your representative. Record everything. But there's a whole new genre of instructions that weren't in the original guide, because now that Democrats have power, their constituents get to tell them how to use it. This is from the Offense Through Oversight and Investigations section. If you're concerned, for example, that HUD Secretary Ben Carson spent $31,000 of taxpayer money on a dining room set for his office, you can tell your member of Congress to investigate this misuse of public funds. You can tell your member of Congress they can bring on a formal congressional investigation. Here's a starter list you could pass along. Tell your member of Congress to use their vote. Tell them to sponsor a bill. Tell them to introduce new legislation. Tell them to write letters to the administration. We are in a new phase of the Trump era in American politics, one where the power of the White House is no longer unchecked. So the objectives have changed. And now, as of this hour, as of tonight, the roadmap from the Indivisible folks has changed too. One of the former congressional staffers who wrote this joins us next. The Indivisible Guide was a really influential part of how Democrats and liberals approached power, and Congress in particular, after Trump and the Republicans won power in Washington in the 2016 election. Well, now that we've had the midterm elections and the Democrats have taken back some of that power, they've taken control of the House, Indivisible tonight has published version 2.0 of the Indivisible Guide. It's called Indivisible on Offense, a practical guide to the new Democratic House. Joining us now is Ezra Levin. He's a co-author of the Indivisible Guide. This is his first interview since the new handbook was released tonight. Mr. Levin, thank you for being here.
Thanks for having me.
So the last guide was defense, basically. It was about how Democrats could stop Republicans in Congress and the Trump administration from getting everything they want, given that they had all the levers of power. Yeah. This one is about offense. What is the tactical difference?
We are incredibly excited for this tactical difference because the first 2 years, the last 2 years that we've spent, have been on defense, like you're saying. We didn't have the House, the Senate, or the presidency. So when we put out the original Indivisible Guide, we started from this place of weakness. We knew we didn't have agenda-setting power. Democrats did not have agenda-setting power. Instead, they had the power to respond. But now that's different. Because of the House of Representatives, because that House is in control of Democrats' hands, they can go on offense in two key ways. They can go on legislative offense, means they can pass bills. They can introduce bills. They can get co-sponsors. They choose what gets a vote. And they can go on oversight offense. So all the stuff that has been going on under this administration in the dark for 2 years without any real oversight, that ends. Now we can shine a light on it. And that's the big, big difference heading into the next 2 years.
But in terms of legislative offense,